Just a little bit of background of the folks here. Fugro are a worldwide company, deal with geotechnical testing. We've used them for a number of years. We brought them in to do the subsurface exploration, test the subsoil strata, etc., and look at how the foundation was reacting. WJE, they're an engineering team out of Austin, and they combined with us to look at the subsurface problems we were having. They've done some particular expertise recently, appealing with one or two other courthouses that had settlement issues with the buildings of this age. And they've also got a very good water and moisture intrusion division that helped with some of the elements we're dealing with here with the courthouse. And Donna Grace and Lindsay Coleman, the architects out of San Antonio, that put the whole thing together. I'd be dealing with structures from here and abroad, back to Victorian area, and back to Norman ages, looking at old historic structures and seeing how they react with exterior climates and just time. Okay, so put this little presentation together, a little bit of sort of show and tell, to try and sort of encapsulate and give an overview of what we've seen and what we're thinking is the best kind of approach to look at fixing the building. The building on the whole really is in not a bad state of repair. There's certain areas, southwest corner, as we're looking at the building here. This is maybe a fancy one that I've got this little arrow pointer tool. I'll see if I can work it, otherwise I may just need to go to the old red thing. So right down. Okay, that highlighter thing. Okay, this area right by here is, those that are familiar with the building know that we have a lot of settlement issues here. The process we went through was to interior and exterior study of the building. We also then went and contracted with a surveying company to actually give us a grade, the existing grade level on the existing building to see how much drop we had at this point and across the building in all four directions, front to back, side to side, etc. Some were a little surprising, some were difficult to see by the eye, how much a drop we had. There was quite a drop over on the southeast corner here as well as the southwest corner. But this is where the major problems are, and I'll highlight this in a couple of slides that are coming up shortly. The main concerns we had obviously was settlement here, finding out why the walls were bowing. Okay, let's go to the first one. Okay, we have there's a series of photographs illustrating existing conditions. Can I dim the lights, Judge? Sure. Thanks, Phil. That's better. All right. Everybody see okay? Okay. So those that are familiar with the courthouse, you know there's a whole series of striations and cracking all around the exterior envelope. Right here, it happens along the base, up to the window joints, which is typical in buildings that are having settlement issues. When you have a wall, the weakest point is obviously where you penetrate that wall, windows, doors, openings, and that's where the cracks tend to migrate from. Again, along the top of the building up towards this dental frieze work here where the roof comes down to the soffit, again there's these spider cracks through here. And of course, depending on what time of the year it is, and depending on climatic conditions here in South Texas, we tend to get more cracks when it tends to dry out, and then when it gets a bit wetter, it tends to fill in a bit. It's just the general movement of the building. It's doing well, isn't it? Excuse me a sec. It's working fantastic. Give me a second. All right. Never fails. I was testing it before I came in. Okay, here we go. Alright, so again we have a series of the conditions. You see these on the coin work that we have along the each tops of the windows. This is pretty prevalent around most of the coin work, the tops of the windows with the stucco arrives. And that's into the interior. This is in the southwest corner into the interior, which I believe used to be outside or in by your office. And this sort of runs through the first and the second floor, up migrates up to the second floor. This crack runs right along this corner. This is an example of how the cracking to the interior is actually spalled off the interior plasterwork, enough that you can actually see right through and get your hand right into the inside of that wall. The general construction of the building is basically the load-bearing 5 courses or 5 wide, 5 thicknesses of brick that go from top to bottom, and generally they penetrate into the earth between 4 to 6 feet, the load-bearing. That's one of the issues we've been dealing with, has been the here's a good example here, the brick from the interior just comes all the way down. We can see there's a lot of spider cracking going on in random areas down to foundation. Grade levels around back here. This is sort of taken under the crawl space where the concrete hallway, the terrazzo hallways up above span down on these walls here. And again, you see this general cracking along the foundation, which is not typical of a building of this age. The biggest issue that we found that when I was looking at it originally is when you put your hand into those holes here, if you've ever grabbed hold of a pumice stone and a weak one at that, it'll sort of crumble in your hands like the old cinder blocks used to crumble. The consistency of these bricks here are very poor. They are highly absorbent. The brick plant, when they finished making this plant, after they built this courthouse, Carn City Courthouse, they actually shut the plant down because the brick was such poor quality. The problem you have then is if you keep its structural integrity, it doesn't get moist, and it can do it's kept together as a whole, and the structural integrity of the wall is kept in place with no exterior effects. It can hold up for quite a while, which it has done. What is noticeable though is over time, with settlement we've had on the building, that being that the ground is shifted on one side of the wall apart from the other. One of the engineers made a comment, I'll come back to these. One of the engineers made a comment of the brick has sort of become one with the earth. So the brick has come down through here, down to the line. This line here is about where the baseline of the wall foundation is here. And it's really difficult, I think, which Phil would test when you get down in that hole, it's really difficult to see where the wall foundation is. You have bits of brick here and there, and just the earth is sort of just absorbed in this one unit. So that's one of the issues we're dealing with, and it's one of the really large settlement issues. The settlement obviously has then caused a number of cracks on the face. We're also dealing with moisture intrusion along gutter lines here. This is the old aluminum faced dental detail work they have along the top. You can see some of this is sort of over time, it's probably had moisture on the back of it. Some repair work has been done over time, but you can see we're starting to get rusting here. This is evident again on that chunk of the column at the front that we picked up that had fallen off. Moisture's got in behind the plaster and the concrete work there, and has rotted the steel reinforcing out, and it's fallen apart in pieces. So yeah, again, it's nothing that you don't usually see of buildings this age. It's pretty typical here and there. There's certain parts of this building that have had a little bit more damage than others. The great thing is that a lot of this is made out of aluminum. And so, you know, as a safety factor, you haven't got worries about big chunks of stone falling off left, right, and centre. So it's just something that needs to be come in and dealt with and repaired. Again, more photographs here where we're having damage, where there's been moisture intrusion here along these. This is a concealed gutter here that runs along and through. This is one of the issues on the other side of the building. This is the southeast corner. On the southwest corner, right in this element here is where, which is right above that junction, your old office, Judge. that I think we're getting a combination of. I was really concerned that we were getting moisture in this location coming down to the corner of that building. I think partly to do with that, we've got up in the roof, and the roof system's actually in pretty good shape. It can maybe do a little bit of bracing here and there, but the structural integrity of the roof is pretty sound. What appears to be on that southwest corner, more than anything else, which is this corner right over, get my bearings, right here, is this point here is the weakest point. This is the area here where we're having the majority of the movement. We have four rings done, 1, 2, 3, and 4. We did that, the Frugo did that for the geotechnical testing to find out the consistency of the soil in those areas, to see whether it's what he was expecting to be. And generally, across the way, it tends to be generally correct. It's a sandy, loamy soil. Certain areas, I think this area over here has, this bit here actually has more of a clay base to it, which of course it would be, because that's where we're having a lot of the problems with the movement. This is also the location here where we found the old sewer line that had been replaced, and who knows, over the last decades, that may have caused, with the clay soil we have here, which clay soil has potential for expansion more than the sandy loam soil. This may have been a contributing factor to some of the settlement. This is the high side of the block, and this is where we've had, in this direction, we've had moisture approaching the building here from the southwest side here, which is why we're having all this settlement movement here. This combined with the poor brick that we have, along with the cracking, moisture getting into those walls, that then degrades the structural integrity of the brick, which is why you're seeing this wall here bowing, twisting, doing everything it can rather than staying vertical right now. I have some sections I'll show you on that, but these are sort of the real problematic area. The problem is when you have a wing like this area here that decides to do its own thing and move on its own, the weak point is going to be right here. This is the moment joint, we say, where a lot of cracking will happen, which makes sense why we're having a cracking through two parts of the building right here. Okay, so back to these photographs we took of these test pit borings here. We took 3 test pits around the building. One this location here and back over here. And again, you can see the colour of the soil tells a good tale. More the grey soils here have more the clay elements. There's that old abandoned sewer line that was. We have a new line up above. And again, this was taken a section through here. This is brickwork that was put in to try and mitigate some of the moisture and the water damage right up against the edge of the building. Again, it really doesn't do much. There's like a small concrete brick footing that was put on, but really the biggest problem is moisture coming from this direction, or this direction coming into the building is the problem. The bricks themselves actually sit on a very small, when they actually dug the trench for the exterior perimeter of the building, it looks like they just threw a slurry of cement and stone in the bottom and just started building the bricks on top, which again isn't uncommon for the period of time, but when you get ground movement, the foundation system of the concrete underneath really isn't strong enough to deter any upward thrust, sideward thrust, settlement or anything. Over time then, these movement crack monitors were put on to see how much movement was happening vertically, one side to the other, and back to back, side to side. And we're just looking at doing some testing, digging and seeing how deep the foundation system is, but small examples of the test pits that were dug. Through the conversations we've had, and I briefly mentioned this the last time I came to present a few weeks ago, I'm trying to cover the general terms of how we're going to remediate this problem. The first thing is to go under the existing foundation system we have here. Now, bear in mind the way that the foundation, the floor system in the existing courthouse, those who've been in there, you basically have a terrazzo and a concrete floor system in the centre hallways. And then there's a mix of, in these offices here, these are wood floors, in the corners over here, which again, with some of the exterior wall movement, we think there's been settlement with the wood flooring, which is why when you walk through the buildings in different offices, some offices seem fine, others then have a little bit of a bow and a dip and a fall. It's because of the exterior movement, and there's probably been some damage of getting into with the deflection of the old wooden beams and floors that will need to be repaired and replaced. But what this diagram here indicates is sort of from around about the side steps here that face due, I guess, due for southwest, we're looking at coming along with a system of underpinning the existing foundation back to a point here to try and stabilize any future movement. It's really impractical to try and jack the building up like you would a house, to try and make it all nice and level again and then underpin. It's really difficult on a building that is made out of basically individual elements, bricks, that are in such a poor state down the foundation level. So what we're looking at doing is going in, securing what's there and trying to alleviate any future movement, and then going in to the really poor areas of brickwork on the southwest corner here and select other areas, and actually going in and replacing those sections of brick with new brick, and then re-rendering. And that's a process we'll take around the exterior of the building. We have an elevation study done that we need to take to the next level, so we can actually pinpoint which areas we need to go in to remove all the stuff, remove that stucco work, go back, repoint, replaster. But none of that will be taken until we actually underpin the foundation. And this is the system here. I've photographed it here. Okay, so this is the situation we have currently. This is the 5 wide course of brickwork we have going on here, down to depth of about 4 feet. Here's that old, this is typical as shown in that southwest corner. Here's the old broken sewer line, the new sewer line that comes in. And you can see, I've sort of indicated here, not very well, but the wall is starting to fall outwards, bow out in a vertical direction, and horizontally it's starting to bow out like a banana around where the window locations are. And it's also starting to bow on the inside as well, which is a pretty indicative element where there's getting moisture intrusion in and around the window. Very few of the windows now are able to be opened. There's gaps between 1/4 inch and 1.25 inch in some of the gap areas there that have been, they put foam in and tried to secure so we don't get as much air leakage as once was. But, so what we're looking at doing, here's the old foundation system here. This is sort of the existing condition. What we're looking at doing is coming back in, taking out the poor brick, coming back and replacing with a brick. And this is where it gets a little tricky, because the existing consistency and the load bearing capacity of the existing brick is extremely low. It's about 1/3 lower than, 1/3 to 1/2 lower than the lowest allowable compressive strength on brick that they allow in building code today. And literally, a lot of that brick you can grab and just crush it in your hands. So we have to be careful when we go back in to make sure that the brick level of strength and the mortar that binds the brick together is of a quality that is as compatible as we can with the existing wall. Otherwise what will happen is, it's a bit like having a jello mold, and you take a section of jello mold out and you put a consistency of something like plaster of Paris in the middle of it, and you shock the jello. Everything's going to crumble around it. The section we're putting in, if it's too strong, it's going to fracture around it as well. We need to be able to blend it in. So we'll probably be looking at a lower compressive strength for the replacement brick that's complementary to the rest of the wall itself. So we'll replace all the brick here. We're looking at replacing all the windows that need to be replaced. Having spoke with the engineers, our initial sort of investigation, we think there's a number of windows there that could be replaced. I think when we get into the process, it may be conducive for us to actually replace all the windows for the future, for the building, bring them up to the energy efficiency ratings that are there for today, which is only going to help the building and its longevity in its future for future occupants. The foundation system here, what we're talking about here, this is a little difficult to show here from the elevation, but basically we're going to come in with a new footing here that will actually excavate around the building and we're going to lay in four. What I've tried to indicate here in the dark and the light grey is we'll stay up while we're doing it. So we'll come out, chop out 4 to 6 foot sections, and replace the concrete in those areas. It'll almost be like a sawtooth or a checkerboard pattern around the building perimeter. So we'll take 4 foot, leave 4 foot, take 4 foot out. We'll pour the new concrete in. It'll have reinforcing bars that will stick out. So then when we've run around the building as in its entirety, back to that original plan. So we'll do it in 4 foot sections as we go around the building here. We'll come back and then start again and fill in the other 4 foot sections until we have a new foundation system underneath. One of the tricky things that we're still working on right now, I think we've also got it sorted, is there are a couple of other elements we need to think about. If you replace this footing underneath the wall, you've still got all that brickwork up above that, as the engineer said, has become one with the earth, but it still really is not that structurally sound. So what we'll probably need to do is either in cinder block, CMU, or in concrete, depending on, we're still running some calculations now, is almost then pour a vertical leg to take away the part of the brick that has been so moisture saturated for so many years. And so this is what I'm trying to indicate here. This is sort of the top of the line of the foundation here, which is sort of this line right here. And I try to indicate here then this vertical leg on this section going up here. And this is the bearing soil at this point right here underneath. So we think if we do that, I think that's going to solve any future movement we have. Combining with that, we also think it's then important to try and mitigate any future moisture coming down the slope here from the parking drive side of the town square here, coming this way. So we're looking at putting a French drain here to capture any moisture we can, as much as we can, and run it down towards the natural fall towards the back of the property. We will then also look at wrapping the foundation with a concrete.
Well, while we're waiting on that, I've got a question that might be good to ask right now. On that, those bricks he's talking about going up, replacing the, or are you just talking about the exterior walls or the interior walls also?
On the bricks, I think, oh no, there'll be interior sections also, where we have a lot of that brick spalling and the brick deflection into at the building. Those whole sections of wall, if we deem this to be removed.
Will you be removing the floor in order to do that?
Certain areas of floor we will be, yes. We'll probably need to take up portions, for example, in your office, up in the old law library up on the second floor, the back northwest corner. Where they had all that, they had a lot of point loading with the bookcases. We'll need to look at those floors as well, because I'm sure that some of those beams have been.
But I mean, the bottom floor, in order to get to those bricks.
Yes.
What else?
Yes. Yeah. And some areas we can get in underneath. We can actually there's good enough crawl space to get through. So a lot of the areas, it's fortunate and necessary, but a lot of the areas where we have that deflection with the actual brick itself on the wall, on the inside and the outside, that's where we're obviously having some of the floor failure as well. So we can get 2 for 1 then. When we're in there, we can see what's going on with the beams and replace the floor and the wood floor and subfloor. I guess we've blown
That's right.
Could I ask a question? When you take out 4 feet and you leave 4 feet, you take out 4 feet, you leave 4 feet, and you're working and replacing that, but for the time while that 4 feet are out, if you're taking them all out at the same time, in effect what you're doing is reducing the amount of you'll only have half the foundation, and if these bricks are as bad as you've been saying, will it support the rest of it for that period of time?
Yes, the way that the wall arrangement is with the way that the structural load works vertically, for the period of time we're talking about taking the wall out, we're not taking a section out and walking and leaving it for a couple of weeks. Literally, they're taking that section out and then almost immediately coming back in and underpinning.
So you're not going to take every other section out, all of it, because
no,
at that point
we'll do it as we go.
Okay, you'd only have half a foundation.
Right.
If it's crumbling now,
right.
If you have half, that means the existing, what you have left, you have double the pressure.
all the proportionate,
And
yes.
it could possibly.
No.
crack.
And this is a system that was used on a courthouse in Northwest Austin, where this is when we were talking with one of the structural forensic engineers we were working with on the team. We were coming up with this idea of doing this, and they said, well, it's ironic, we actually have a system in place where we have a concrete company that actually have done this recently, and they had a much more difficult foundation they were dealing with. That in past people have gone in and on this other courthouse have gone in and replaced strips and areas of the foundation around the building in sporadic times over the last 50, 60 years. And so they had a more difficult time then, because they actually almost had to step the new foundation around and under the old one. So this gentleman we're looking at using has really cut his teeth and worked the hard way of figuring this out, how to do this.
So in effect, what you'd be doing is taking 4 foot out, maybe 1 or 2, but not much more than
Correct.
that. Fixing that, then go do some more. You wouldn't take all the 4 foot.
No. We'd start the side and we'd do a trench along that one side of the Settlers Wall, for example, and then come and deal with that area first, and then we move around to the other side.
Dorn, did y'all ever find out where that water was actually coming from that first bore pit that we drilled? You know, was it sewer water, was it groundwater? Did y'all ever determine?
Not exactly, no. No, but we think it's a combination of things, to be quite honest. You mean
What was the location of that one?
The first one right there, we were going down right there with the old sheriff's office, the old county extension office, right there by the stairway going down, right there in that corner.
You mean the one that was already stinky pit? That one, or you're on the southwest corner?
Be the southeast corner, I guess, the east side of the.
Yeah, he's got a different south than what we've.
Okay.
You're right. Look, the southwest is your old corner, right?
Yeah, it'd be the other corner.
Well, no, actually, what I would have considered my corner would have been the northwest corner. Well, the parking area was what we considered the south, but I never did take, I never watched the sun go down to see it, but that's what I always called the south side of the parking area.
So your corner where you used to office, you call that the
Northwest.
Okay, all right. So the northwest corner there, then. So, sorry, Commissioner, which
You're
one
talking
are you
about
talking
northeast corner of the old
I guess
courthouse.
the southeast corner. It'd be going down where the county agent.
Oh, okay, on that side.
Yeah, where
Parking
we had the real.
You know what?
Yeah.
Bad smelling water, right?
Yes.
A report that we had from the Historical Association a long time ago criticized us, and we removed them for that. But right in that corner was a lot of banana trees that they said was detrimental to the moisture.
In that same location.
In the same location.
Because we thought, everyone thought the way that smelled, we all thought there was a sewer line issue or something there, because it was really potent.
Yeah.
But there was
There's
no fecal matter at all detected any of that water. We had the water tested there.
As far as I know, whatever research I've done, there's no sewer line going in that direction.
So you never know. There may be something. It could have been a.
Well, now, another thing, how fertile that soil is there, the trees, like what's those, esperanzas, how big they got and everything? A number of years ago, we had a sheriff that hauled in a bunch of chicken manure in that area, and they almost got run out of town for it, They had to close the street and everything.
It's things like that it's those nuances that people who've lived here for many years that know that could very well be the explanation of what it is. That, for example, that could be only down a foot or 18 inches or so, but if that's immediate and you have moisture below it, that's what you could be smelling. Because there was no trace matter anywhere down deep for anything.
It would have been in the 70s.
So that could very well be the explanation why it smells so bad there.
But
Did we blow a fuse?
No, apparently we're out all right here. The courthouse has power though. They said theirs went out for a minute and then came back on. And I tried calling Phelps, but I was unable to reach them.
Well, you've seen the diagrams. Basically, once we replace the wall, the foundation system, we're looking at putting a French drain in there to try and mitigate any more moisture coming into that side of the building, the northwest corner. And then what we're looking at doing then is creating and this is something that we've been sort of back and forth on, the engineers and architects. I personally would like, you see that brick soldier coursing that runs around the outside to try to mitigate any moisture coming up and to and from the building. I would like to put a channel around there, almost a concrete channel around, that then the downspouts can be directed into that channel, and any surface face water coming down the face of the building can run down and run into a minimal grate. There will also be a catchment to run away. So we're trying to reduce any moisture coming towards the building, subsurface moisture, and then any exterior envelope moisture that can penetrate, come in and down. The window locations will all be looked at, be analysed. If we need to replace, a lot of the windows need to come out anyway, because they have virtually zero flashing at all, and you don't need much movement at all on a brick face to allow moisture in. Which, as soon as moisture gets behind those old wood window frames, they're going to swell, and they're going to continue to rot. They'll sit down in the sills. There's no head flashing, sill flashing, because they really didn't do that much of that back then. We have power.
Yeah, we do.
My calculator's on. Life is good. Nothing else.
How much of the stucco are you intending to remove?
It's difficult to tell right now, but I think we'll probably, if you take the building as a whole, I would say we're probably going to be looking at the amount of spalling in areas we have. I'd say we're going to be taking off at least 50%. Now, what we're obviously, it's not going to be just literally taking the whole wall and chipping it all off, because I think the whole wall will fall down, because I think the stucco wrap is also helping that. But in the areas, it's going to look like a pretty comprehensive repair job on a car. If you've arrested over a car, breaking it away and patching it when we need to.
Well, reason I was asking you, when we was looking for a grant from the Historical Association a few years ago, that was one of the things they want us to remove it. And our thing was, it's been on there since the 30s, and it's probably bonded with that brick.
It has. Yeah, we can't be doing that.
And so that was been their preference, is if it went back to the old brick that it originally was. But like I said, it's been there since.
It'll never happen. No. I mean, if you take that down, you'll take off every exterior course. We'll take off.
I think the Historical Society, if there's a structural reason for not removing it, will over.
I mean, yeah, I mean, to be honest, the state of this brick, the reason it is today is because the stucco on it. It would never have lasted, I don't believe. You know, I've done studies on buildings back to the 11th century, and I've seen a lot of damage from acid rain, salt erosion on building facades, and I could not believe how soft this brick is. So, you know, it's remarkable it stayed in such good shape it has been.
I thought it was kind of interesting that Guadalupe County had an Alfred Childs courthouse built in the same era. And in the 1930s, they tore it down and rebuilt. And that's at the time whenever this courthouse had the, and so there was some need for that at that time, you know, I guess.
There used to be an old brick, because there used to be an old brick plant close to where they're there in Seguin years ago, because we're working on that. We're working on the Guadalupe County on their courthouse right now as well. We have other different, they have that 30s on there right now, but I mean, it's a great old build. This is a really great building. And then obviously what we need to look at doing then is looking at the future of the building, and depending on who occupies the building next and how the building is used. We may need to do some more reinforcing and bracing on the interior if we're using, as we talked before, if we use the way the structural design is done is a library, for example, has what they call is dead load. It's you have this series of books on shelves in bookcases, and they don't move; they stay there permanently. The structure of the design then, the foundation system, whether it's second floor, first floor, reacts differently to a courtroom, what's called a live load, people walking across it back and forth. And so the structural system needs to be analysed differently to that. So this was intended always to be a courtroom on the second floor with offices below. So depending on what the building's occupancy becomes in, if it becomes offices again, has a courtroom facility up above, the structural integrity of the building will probably be great as it is right now. But we obviously first need to come in and secure the envelope, make sure that we don't have any more water intrusion issues, and secure the foundation system. There's that little block we're talking about there of creating a drain basin here to try and mitigate as much of the moisture towards the building, off the building face as possible. And then that French drain will be somewhere out here in this location.
So we got to be doing quite a bit of repairs upstairs, but we had movement up to that one.
Definitely, and that would be in the
Above the judge's office, the northwest corner.
northwest corner on the, so that would be the northeast corner then,
You're talking about there by Russell's office?
where the old
Where the law clerk,
Right,
and where
exactly.
the law library is.
that's clear. You can see there's a dead load issue right there. They have a lot of books stored in one place, and that's where the floor just.
That chambers and that office below, part of that was an add-on. You do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And ironically, I mean, that's actually, the floor's deflected in that portion, but the building itself of the addition there is really, it's in sound shape. No cracking or anything in that way. It's sort of cracked up to that point.
See, that library where it's located right now, hadn't been there but 3, 4, 5, several years. It used to be behind the judge's, in the courtroom, behind where the judge sits, in the courtroom. It was in that little room there where it was prior to that. But that was an add-on, and that probably may have something to do with what you're talking about, the difference in strength of materials and stuff there.
Yeah. And it's interesting, you walk through a lot of the restrooms up there that has all that sort of 1x1, 2x2 tile on the floors, not the walls. And that's a pretty clear sign. If you have a lot of differential movement throughout the building, you'll see it in those trowel joints. But there's maybe 1 or 2 light cracks, but you know, you'd expect to see that in a 10, 15-year-old building. So you know, that gave us a lot of, and again, the terrazzo downstairs, there's a few cracks here and there, but I think the building, apart from these isolated areas, is in pretty sound shape. It's an old building. We've done it a lot downtown. We did it on the casino building downtown, the Riverwalk, the Stacky Stevens building. We've done a lot of work. We've actually had to go in and replace areas where it's had a problem and bring it back to its former glory. So we'll be wrapping up the rest of this report this week, but we sort of have our findings now. It's just, to say, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, and we'll forward on to you. So we have numbers on what we think roughly it's going to cost to where the building is now to take it back to where it needs to be. We're actually breaking those numbers out then, depending on how you then want to go with soliciting construction bids to have it. I would really look at recommending going with one of those foundation specialists for this, because that's what they're taking care of. There are very few and far between that know how to deal with this. So we're asking them we're actually breaking out the estimate we think to do the foundation system, whereas the rest of the building envelope itself, again, we need to have construction crews that are knowledgeable about window replacement in historic structures, partial wall replacements. But there are more specialists out there than there are for the foundation replacement system.
Will your estimate include the work around the roof, the aluminum and all that?
Yeah, I think we're around about $1.5 million, something like that. Okay.
The total project like $1 million?
$1.5 million.
$1.5 million?
Yeah.
Now that's for everything, not just replacing the foundation.
No, that's for everything.
Okay.
And
So
that
you're
also-
going to break it down by this is
Yes,
what
I'm
it's
going
gonna
to take that foundation system out, because I think that's the exterior envelope, securing the exterior envelope and the penetrations and the openings and the windows. Again, there's a lot of independent specialists that can do that. The foundation is one that's extremely finite, so we're actually breaking those numbers out and then looking at the others. And we came up with that based on general construction cost data.
Do you kind of have a number on just securing the building now, the foundation?
just the foundation system itself. We're breaking that, we've got a whole tally together, we're actually breaking that up this morning, so yeah, I'll probably know that by tomorrow.
Yes?
I would like to right now.